Okay, we're live. Let me get set up a little bit here. This is a new setup. It's too cold outside, so I don't want to do it on my porch anymore. So we're gonna try. We'll try this out here. Okay, and then hopefully I can get the comments up on my computer so that I can answer them without shaking the screen too much. Okay. Let's do it like this. Do it like that. Back up the camera a little bit. There we go. Okay, how's that? Angle it down a little bit. Whoop. Okay. We're figuring it out here, right? We're figuring it out. Alright, let's see now if I can get... Oh, there we go. Okay. So if I go there, and then turn, I just pause it. Okay. So I should be able to see the chat now. Let's see if that worked. Yeah. Okay. All right, cool. All right. Now I can just look at questions on my computer instead of trying to toggle on the computer. Hey, broski. How you doing? All right. So yeah, hopefully we'll get some live viewers, some questions to answer. Okay. So on this one, I want to talk about a little bit different. Not so much healing. You know, most of the time we're focusing on healing, the pushing down exercise, and sort of that stuff on the channel. This one, I want to talk a little bit about world events, how to prepare yourself, how to protect yourself at this time. Because we live at a very, very interesting time, okay? So if you follow, like, astrology and you follow, like, cycles from different religions and stuff like that, we're just looking at it from that viewpoint, we're at a very interesting time right now, okay? So from astrology, we're entering the age of Aquarius, right? So an age is, I don't know, however long, I think it's like some 100,000 years, Earth enters into a new age, where it's at a certain part of the Milky Way galaxy, right? And we've recently entered a new age, okay? And this age is the age of Aquarius, okay? Aquarius is a more masculine energy. It is also the knowledge bearer. Okay, many people think that Aquarius is the water bearer, but it actually represents knowledge. Okay, so this represents new knowledge coming to Earth at this time, which will create a lot of new opportunities on Earth, but also a lot of change, so we have to be prepared for it, right? Other things we have to be prepared for at this time, okay? You have to realize that all the Western nations are so far in debt, it cannot possibly be repaid. Okay, you have to understand that. Now, if you want to learn a little bit more about finances and other stuff like that, you can go to my other channel. It's just called Luke Pryor. I think it's on our sidebar where it says recommended channels. You can go to that one. I've decided to split the two, right? So this channel is mostly focused on healing, and that channel is mostly focused on like investing stuff that interests me, like cryptocurrencies and gold and silver and banking and credits and how all that stuff works, right? But the two overlap, right? Because money is important for our health, okay? You need money to buy organic vegetables, right? You need money to do the program, to pay a practitioner to test your hair for you and help you heal, right? It takes money to heal, right? It takes money to put a roof over your head. It takes money to do all these things, right? To live a comfortable life here on Earth, right? There might be a day where that money is not important. But at this time, money is very important, okay? And anyone that tells you that money is important is basically just full of it, okay? Now, money is not to be worshipped, right? And money is not the end-all, be-all. And many people worship money, and they make their lives centered around money. And it is true that you should not do that. And you get to a certain point where definitely in your life, money takes on less meaning, right? So once you have a cushion, right, and you have a house and you have a reasonably nice car that you're pretty sure is going to start in the morning, and you can basically afford the highest quality organic food you want, uh, you know, that's basically all you need, right? But it takes money to even get to that point, right? And there's many lies taught about money at this time on Earth. And it's also a great period of change, in my opinion. So going back to where we are at in the cycle, you have to realize all you have to do is do the math, right? You can go on Google or any internet search thing, and you can go look at the debt of all the Western nations, and you can see that it's not possible for Western nations to repay their debt. Okay, so a new system must be born, and we are now transitioning into that new system. Okay, and so this could be chaotic, right? There could be banking closures. There could be, as the governments have to pull back their welfare programs and things like that, there will be a certain amount of social unrest and things like that, especially in the cities, right, where people that live in the cities tend to be more on government aid programs such as food stamps, welfare, Medicaid, Medicare, and Social Security, things like that. Okay, cities tend to breed dependency a little bit more, right? Because cities don't produce as much as, like, if you think of the outlying areas where you're farming and you're producing things. Okay, so it's very important to realize that we're entering a transitional phase, right, where we are going out of the dollar system, out of the fiat debt system. Okay, and this occurs every so often. All paper currencies are doomed to eventually go to zero because that is their true value. Well, not necessarily zero, but the value of a piece of paper, right? Because they are a piece of paper, and so pieces of paper will eventually, through market forces, find their true value, right? Which is a piece of paper. The $100 bill is really just a piece of paper, and eventually it will become such. Okay, so it's very important that we realize that, and we avoid a lot of risk, right? Something that I do feel comfortable talking about on this channel more than the other ones is that the safest thing at this time is to just hold gold and silver, right? So you should have at least a portion of your funds, of your savings, in gold and silver, because we know it's not going anywhere. Historically, it's always been money. Don't have a third party store it for you. Okay, don't store it in a bank or anything like that. Always store it in your own possession, so you have control over it. But gold and silver is very safe, and it will continue to hold its value in relation to dollars as we see more of a transition out of this sort of fiat system. Okay, so it's important to understand money. It's important to learn about money. And it's important to not have bad feelings about money. Many people have bad feelings about money, especially my generation, right? They're taught that money is evil. Working for a living is not, you don't need to work for a living. They're taught that, we don't need money, right? Money is just a transfer of energy, right? And so it can be used for gratitude, right? So if I want to show appreciation towards someone, I can partially show them appreciation by giving them money, right? Because that represents some of my capital. I had to put forth energy to make capital, to make the money. And then if I give them some of my money, right, it's giving them some of my energy, in a sense, right? Because I had to put in energy into the money, right? And so money will always be around, right? Because we need some way to transfer energy, and we need some way to transfer value and appreciation, right? And so even if we enter a sci-fi world where, everyone, there's no starving or anything like that, and everyone has basically a universal basic income, and there's universal health care and all that stuff, we'll still have money, because it's part of humanity. Money is part of humanity. And so it's important that you don't have ill feelings towards money, okay? Many people do this, especially if you went to college, if you went to the school system, they have ill feelings towards money, okay? So there's also some earth changes I think that we're going through. The fires right here in California are absolutely terrible. You can go on the internet and read about the Paradise Fire. Basically, it's a town. It's only a couple hours away from where I live. Same population as the town I live in, of Grass Valley. I think it's about 80,000 people in Paradise and the surrounding areas. And basically, a fire started, and there were 60-mile-per-hour winds, and basically overnight, the whole town and the surrounding area was just burnt up in an inferno. I think like 15 people died so far. They were burned alive in their cars, actually, because they couldn't get out in time. And we're seeing extreme drought and fires here in California. Okay. So one thing you have to realize is that the Earth is a living being. Okay. The Earth is a living being and it self-regulates itself. Okay. If you look at some of the data from Mars and our solar system, it seems that the sun is emitting more energy and that the solar system is heating up, right? So even where I live, there's no you can't really climate change is real, right? I don't believe in human climate change from CO2 levels and things like that, but you cannot deny climate change, right? Earth and regions on Earth, the climate always changes. And here in California, especially where I live, it's becoming much drier. I've noticed the difference from when I was a child. When I was a child, we used to get snow 2 or 3 times a week, and it always snowed at least a foot, a couple of times a year. Now we basically never get snow, and it doesn't rain nearly as often here as it used to, and it's just a much drier climate, right? And so this is just part of the reality of where I live, okay? And so Earth has a response to its heating, right? So as Earth heats, it wants to regulate itself. And how it regulates itself, it seems to be, if you look at historical data, that it regulates itself through putting more particulates into the air, okay? So it does this through more volcanic activity. That's one way that the Earth can put more particulates in the air. And the other major one is through forest fires, like the ones we're experiencing in California, right? So what the Earth does is it sets more fires. This puts more particulates in the air. That blocks out sunlight and helps regulate the temperature. Same thing with volcanoes. We have volcanoes around Earth, especially around the Pacific Rim. The Earth decides to make more volcanic activity, more volcanic eruptions. This puts more particulates and ash into the air. This blocks more sunlight, and we get global cooling due to the more particulates in the air. And so the Earth is a living being, and it regulates itself in these ways. So the Earth is not dying or anything like that, but it does sometimes need to take steps to regulate itself. Okay, that's an important thing that you should realize, that the Earth is living. There's a lot of truth in that. And so we need to prepare ourselves for, there might be more, extreme climate change. Groups of people may have to be moved, right? You might have to move out of where you live if the climate becomes inhospitable, okay? But it's important that we do our programs, okay, and push down and things like that, to not get attached to the crazy thing that is happening, which include political disruptions in the debt market, climate change. We live in a great time of change, right? Where you might need to move out of the city that you live in, or the state, or whatever. You might find chaos, as people's credit cards stop working and things like that, right? As we're all built upon the credit system, as it were. And so it's important to prepare yourself psychologically for that, and important to take steps to protect yourself and your family. I believe, you should always have some gold and silver around. You should always have at least a couple of weeks worth of dried food. You can go buy online some dried beans and rice. And it's important that you take certain steps to protect yourself. And health is a big part of that, right? People are less able to deal with stress because their bodies are sick, right? I've noticed this in myself, right? So if your body is in a natural, healthy state, it will react very quickly, much more quickly than people are used to, right? Because the fight or flight instinct, you almost kind of, when you're in a healthier state, you almost, it's almost like you black out a little bit, right? You go into that complete fight or flight, and your body just takes over, and to deal with the situation, right? I've experienced this in myself. My body ramps up and reacts much quicker than what it is. How do you well, I'll go back and answer some questions. But it happens much quicker, right? Hey, if you're watching the video, hit the like button. All right, share this with your friends. Like the video. Um, so me and my wife Sarah were in a parking lot, right? And there was an aggressive dog on the other side of the fence. It was dark, so we didn't know it was on the other side of the fence, but it sounded like the dog was just running at us, right? And my body quickly ramped up, and without even thinking about it, I grabbed Sarah and then yanked her behind me, right? Because I was basically thought I was gonna have to fight a dog, you know. Um, Other cases where I noticed this was where a fire was started on my property that I was staying at a couple years ago, and I smelled smoke right before I went to sleep, and then my body just like took over, and within a couple, within like 30 seconds, 911 was already called, and I had run out there and hooked up a hose, and was fighting the flames with a hose before and everyone was amazed by how like people were marketing about how like quickly I reacted. It's because your body in a healthy state takes over, right? That's why healthy people are better athletes, right? They're not thinking about it. Their bodies are in a healthier state that can handle the stress, and they're not so in their heads. They can quickly react to whatever athletic sort of circumstance they are supposed to deal with, right? So that's very important for athletics and stuff like that, right? That's why healthier healthier people are better athletics. They have better posture and stuff like that. Okay. So it's important that you get your body into a healthier state so you're more able to deal with that sort of scenario. Many people I've noticed in our society will freeze up in sort of life or death situations, right? They'll just sort of panic, right? If you're healthy enough, people that are healthy don't tend to panic as much, right? They tend to just react. Because panicking will get you nowhere, right? And you lose control of your breath and you lose control of your body, and you're not in tune to the situation as much, right? Whereas if you're in a healthier state, your body just kind of takes over and you're moving. Right, exactly. Flight, fight, or freeze. Freezing, you don't want to freeze. You want to fight or you want to flight, right? In most cases, you want to flight. You know what I mean? In some cases, you have to fight. But in most cases, flight I think is the preferable out of all three. Definitely don't want to freeze. That's the worst out of all three. You don't want indecision. But in most circumstances, flight is the best option. Okay, but sometimes you have to fight too, and your body will take over, and you'll be if you're healthier, you'll be in a healthier performance state to either fight or flight. Okay, and so. Freeze is what prey animals. Yeah, exactly. Freeze is what prey animals do. Okay, so we got some questions. That's mostly what I want to talk about today. Is just be prepared for, a lot of changes on Earth, a lot of changes on our political system, our debt system. Don't get too attached to it. Many people spend way too much time watching the news. It's just fear porn. The Earth is not dying or anything like that. We are undergoing a lot of changes. And it's important to understand it's okay to understand that we're going through a lot of changes, but don't get too attached to it, right? Stick on your program, live your life day by day, take certain precautions, of course. Understand that the people are under a lot of stress, and the people that are maybe not as healthy as you are undergoing all these changes, and it's much more stressful to them, right? So I noticed this I commute sometimes on the California freeways, and people just drive insane on these California freeways, right? If I'm going 80 in the fast lane and speed limit is 65, people go around me into the slow lane driving 90, 95 all the time, and they're swerving in and out of traffic. Every time I drive on the stretch of freeway that I drive on, there's 2 or 3 accidents just because people are trying to merge and get ahead one car, and there's not enough room, and they hit the center divider trying to miss each other, or they get in head-on collisions. Because everyone's in such a hurry, and everyone's such a panic state of mind that they're prone to just mistakes from their over-aggressiveness, right? Better to take a select, better to get to your destination, right, in one piece, maybe a little bit slower, but it's not a big deal, okay? And he's realized that a lot of these energies from space that we're getting, and a lot of the chaos and a lot of the changes is affecting people, right? So people are in a more fight or flight state than they traditionally would be, and they're more prone to be more aggressive than they ought to be, or they're just in a sort of like more of like a trance fight or flight state. Okay, so you have to be prepared for that. Okay, and in most cases, it's better to leave people be. Just mind to you and your own. All right, so let's see if we got some questions. When Krakatoa exploded, there was a volcanic winter. Yes, I do believe that we will see a period of heating over the next couple of years. Then I predict that the Earth will respond with more volcanic activity and forest fires, and then we will actually enter a period of a mini ice age, and there will be global cooling. And this will present problems with farming and stuff like that. Okay. Any prepper channels that you like? Prepared Mind is good. I like Wrangle Star. That's a cool family out in, I think they're in Oregon or maybe Washington. They just like run a ranch. It's not that much prepping. It's more like prepping / vlogging for like a family vlog / preppers. Yeah, I like Wrangle Star. I don't know. There's plenty of good ones. And you don't need to worry a lot about prepping. It's not like you need to build your Armageddon bunker to prepare the nuclear apocalypse or anything like that. I don't think anything like that will happen. But it's more just like, have a plan, first of all. If a fire's gonna have a fire plan, if you live where I live especially, have a plan what you're gonna save first and how you're gonna escape if if there's fire. Have some money out of the banks. Don't keep all of your money in the banks because the banks are not trustworthy at this time. Many of them are insolvent. Keep it some gold and silver and some valuables and some simple things like that. Have maybe a month worth of dried food, beans and rice, and things like that. But I don't think you need to go super prepper status. You don't need to have a giant horde of guns and ammo for the nuclear winter. Okay, how do you get your body in a healthy state? Well, you get your body in a healthy state over time. It takes some time. You have to, here on the channel, we recommend a nutritional balancing program. So that includes a healthy diet. We like mostly cooked vegetables and animal protein, avoiding, sugars and sweets and most simple carbs. Along with that, we like a tool called hair mineral analysis that we use to gauge your chemistry and put you on the right supplement program. See how much zinc you need, how much copper you need, how many B vitamins you need. And we like certain detox procedures like coffee enemas and sauna therapy. And then the pushing down exercise, or as we tend to call it now, is the pulling down exercise. I think that's even a more powerful term. But, moving energy downwards, that meditation is another thing that we really like. And so it takes time to get your body in a healthy state for some people, and it depends how sick you are. But the main thing that we recommend is a full nutritional balancing program. Okay? Have you noticed a difference with your skin after going on nutritional balancing? I've always had pretty good skin, to be honest. It's not so good right now, partially because of the lighting, also because I'm still at the end of my retracing. So I can tell by the camera that I look a little bit more nasally, not quite as a little more ghostly than I usually do. But I'm nearing the end of my retracing, right? A little bit of mucus still, but yeah, it's been a tough it's probably one of my top 3 retracings. It's been a tough one. But yeah, my skin's definitely healthier. My wife's skin's definitely healthier. One thing I noticed with the skin becomes a little more oily. I noticed in a lot of people. It's not so dry, and it's got more color. I don't know if that makes sense. I noticed that a lot of people when they start the program, there's just more oily, and it's more glowing. If that makes sense. In men, it changes a lot too with higher testosterone levels. I noticed that the skin, if I've been eating plenty of red meat, my skin gets a little more testosterone looking. It becomes a little more rough and oily. That's a look that men get with more testosterone in their bodies. That definitely goes on as well. Okay. All right. Well, that's about it for this video. Stay prepared. Stay vigilant. Keep doing your programs, you guys. be okay with the earth changes that are occurring. Do not get too attached to it, but be prepared. And then hopefully, I think that next Saturday I'm going to go live at this time, but I'm actually visiting my buddy Clark, who is on a nutritional, he's actually been a client of mine for 3 or 4 years. I'm visiting him in Idaho next Saturday, and I'm going to ask him if he wants to go live with me, and then we'll kind of get like a little testimonial going, and we'll ask him about his experiences with the program. And then you guys can ask him some questions, because he's gone through a lot on the program, including he was on antidepressants, and getting off the antidepressants were pretty big. So maybe, yeah, like next week, maybe we'll talk about antidepressants. Yeah, that's what we'll do. Next week, we're going to talk about antidepressants. We're going to talk about what they actually do at a more esoteric and a sort of functional level. And then we'll talk about how to get off of them, the damages they do to the body, how nutritional balancing science can help depression and help you get off the antidepressants. Okay, so look forward for that next week. We'll talk about the antidepressants, and I'll talk to you guys later. All right, bye.